What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Road to Redemption podcast. I'm, as always, your grateful host, Cam Williamson. Spelled my own name wrong in the last episode. That was disappointing for me to see, so I'm sure you guys saw that little mishap. Typos happen. I wrote a book. There's typos in the book. Shit happens. All right, speaking of books, if there was a book that someone just came to you, the listener of this video or podcast, if you only listen, there is a video version on YouTube, and they came to you and said, what book, if you had one book you could recommend to someone, it doesn't have to change their life, it doesn't have to add something to their current situation, but if immediately upon asked, what book would you recommend to someone, what is your first answer? Leave it in the comments for me. Mine is very simple, and I'll give the reasons as to why. They're not unpopular answers, I don't think. But as far as the best book ever written, I would not be as grandiose to claim that I know what that is. There's literature all over the world. So the greatest story to exist, well, maybe we'll get into that here in a minute. So I really divide mine between two. If I had to recommend books to people, these would be the two. So you have The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho, very popular, it's always on the list of, like, if you had to recommend a book to someone, this is a big one. This one not so much. The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald. Okay, let's start with why I think The Alchemist is so important. It can pretty much be summarized by the back of the book. To realize one's destiny is a person's only obligation. And then it says, from The Alchemist. So you have Santiago, who is a shepherd from Spain, feels a deep, ingrained calling in him to go find this treasure that's buried by the pyramids in Egypt. The whole thing of the book is his travels, his journey to what he truly believes to be his destiny, finding this treasure outside of the Egyptian pyramids. And he meets a lot of different people. He meets like a merchant, a glass merchant who he works for a while. He meets a guy, like a crazy guy that calls himself a king. And then he finally meets the alchemist, who kind of changes his life. But the whole time, you're watching a young man go through his life and battle with himself. The life he knew as a shepherd, the comfort, the familiarity of it, and what he knows deep down in his heart, but has nothing to validate that feeling in his external, his 3D. This is a story of knowing what your heart and your soul is telling you is your sole purpose in this life, your sole purpose as a whole, in dealing with the human condition of doubting yourself, listening to others, seeking bad counsel, seeking good counsel, doing things for a certain amount of time for the sight of an end goal. I mean, all of these lessons can be learned in this short little book. I love this book. I read this book originally in 2015 when I was deployed to Guantanamo Bay, because I just wanted something. And at the time, I think I had listened to Macklemore's Growing Up, and he said, I recommend you read the book The Alchemist. So I was like, okay, fair enough. That song really hit me at the time. I was looking for a book to read, and so I grabbed it. It's a great story. It's short. It's not going to take much of your time, and it's enticing. You'll want to stay with it. Give it a minute. You know, it's he starts in Spain, Egypt. The world setting isn't going to blow your mind or anything, but it's a fantastic story that you can gain so much from. This is literally one of those books that you could read it 10 times and gain something different from it every time. The Great Gatsby is not that way. The Great Gatsby is, if you don't know the story of The Great Gatsby, it's the story of a man who is befriended by a man named Gatsby. He is going to see his cousin Daisy and her husband. Her husband is cheating on her. It's not good. It's not a good marriage situation. so her cousin, being the main character of the book, is trying to toe this line. He meets this Gatsby guy. He doesn't know anything about him. He's crazy. He puts on all these parties. Nobody knows who he is. But really, he's just there to like work on Wall Street and hang out with his cousin Daisy. That's his original intent. Well, then Gatsby befriends him to make him realize that he's always been in love with his cousin, Daisy. Gatsby has. They were together when they were young. They got separated by time and war and other relationships and stuff like that. And Gatsby built this grand empire for Daisy. So she always had like a guiding beacon light to go back home to. And I think I love the movie. I love all renditions of the movie. The Paul Rudd version, which most people don't know about. Most people only know about the Leo version and the super old one. There was one in like 2012 with Paul Rudd. You should check it out. I like all renditions of the movie. The book is just as good. It's not better or worse, I don't think. And this is a book, the imagination in this book, the creativity of the scenario. And again, it's all about you're finding a man desperately battling life to live up to the destiny he knows he's supposed to have. And he's just doing everything he can within the confines of very little information. Like for Gatsby, it's just get Daisy. Do anything you have to do to get Daisy. And he did that. Where in The Alchemist, finding your sole purpose was finding an actual physical treasure buried by the pyramids. So it's all a balance of the human condition, I think, are my favorite books. That's why I like them, because sure, they're both fiction. Neither one of these are true. But at the same token, you can go, we can all relate to these stories. You may not be from Spain, and you might not be a shepherd who's going to go and try to unbury a treasure by the pyramids, and you may not be Gatsby who's going to throw grand parties and buy the house across the street from the woman he loves for years and just watch her until she's comes back or comes to one of his parties. It's like you may not have that, but you have something. And whatever your thing is, learn to tap into that all the time. So that way you become more familiar with it. So that way it leads everything in your life. If you listen to any song, any movie, any good book, it's all about finding your real purpose in life. I just think these two best, connect to me on a soul level, because when I read The Alchemist, I wanted to be a better person from a fictional book. I was like, damn, I'm fucking my life up bad. I'm not chasing anything. At the time, I wasn't. It's like, I'm not chasing anything. I'm just going on to get on. And that was kind of the first moment, too, that I was like, I don't think the military is for me anymore. I was deployed at the time. And it was like, I think I'm done after this. I had just extended for a year to go on the deployment I went on. And I was like, I think I'm done. This definitely is not my destiny to be a soldier and fall in line all the time. And it was shortly after that I started my journey of where I am now. So it's pretty cool. Let me know, what books would you guys recommend to people? If you first question, what book would you recommend to somebody? What comes straight to the top of your head? Let me know in the comments. Thumbs up the video, subscribe so we can be good friends here on YouTube. If you're only listening on the audio platforms, get over to YouTube. If you're only watching us on YouTube and you don't actually watch them, just listen. Subscribe over on the audio platforms, anywhere you get podcasts. I love you so very much, and I will talk to you guys in the next episode.